All right, Shalom. Giving all glory, honor, and praise due to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Bahashem, Rakah, HaKodash, that's the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, in whom we praise. Double honors to the apostles, elders, and bishops of Great Millstone, who rule well over the flock of Israel. Shalom, and salutation to you, Akim, out here, pushing the words of truth and sincerity. Shalom to all the Lord's elect, Akim, Akim, scattered Israelites, Israelite foreigners, Abu Ratazah, which means Lord willing. This video is edifying, coming back to you again. All right, with another lesson, I put some a little special, I would say, together. Just trying something in the realms of teaching, a little different than usual. Shalom again. So the Lord brought us back today to do another lesson, and the topic is going to be millstones of judgment. All right, millstones of judgment. We're going right into it. Millstones and accounts of wisdom and consequence. All right. So I got a slide. All right, your brother did some work. Got a slide together, and we're gonna go through this slide. I brought this out. It ain't gonna take too long, and just get into this story of the millstone and what it represents and what it is. We can get well acquainted with this millstone. So let's see here if I could put this up like this. All right, so now I can read my screen. It says the ancient Hebrew mill, hidden wisdom of daily life. The humble millstone holds profound significance in ancient Hebrew life. All right. As I said, we're getting right into it, straight off the bat concerning the millstone and what that is. All right. As you can see, depicted on the left too. Depicted on the left side, you got two millstones, by the way. These are millstones. All right. And so it says the humble millstone holds profound significance in ancient Hebrew life, serving as more than just a tool for food preparation. It's like it referenced through all biblical texts from Exodus to Revelation, the mill reveals layers of cultural, social, and spiritual meaning. The ancient technology connects us to the daily rhythms of Hebrew households and illuminates scripture passages that might otherwise remain obscure to modern readers. And the obscurity means you just don't know what it means. Like every time you hear about a precept or you hear a certain word, you never looked it up and you just don't know what it means. Well, going into words and meanings will help you things not to remain obscure so that you don't know what it's talking about. All right, you can go too long in this truth not knowing what a certain word means. You over here reciting it, reading it, you're right, but you just don't know what that word means. That means you're lazy. All right. That means you're lazy and you haven't even decided that you're going to find enough time to look things up and get a better context of what this is talking about. Again, some things have layers of cultural meaning to it. What is the cultural significance of a millstone? What is the social significance and the spiritual meaning of a millstone? Right? Unless you looked it up and took that time out, or were just taught. You could also be taught like this lesson here. It's going to teach us about the significance of the millstone. All right. This ancient technology connects us to the daily rhythms of Hebrew households and illuminates scripture passages that might otherwise remain obscure to modern readers. Understanding the mill helps unlock hidden wisdom embedded in biblical narratives and metaphors. Let's get into it. It says structure and design of ancient mills. The upper stone, the rider stone, with concave bottom that rotates. Then you have the handle, perpendicular stick for turning the upper stone. Then you have the center pivot, the central axis allowing rotation and grain passage. Then you have the lower stone, the stationary nether stone with the convex surface. So there's four elements pretty much that make up this design that we would grind mill on. All right, applying the millstone. Let's see if I can get rid of this real quick. If not, it's cool. I know it says something under here. Again, bear with me. Testing on something different. Let's see here. Yeah, give me 1 second, brothers. I don't know how to get rid of that. Cool. There we go. Get rid of my face for a second. It says the Hebrew mill consisted of two circular stones measuring between 18 inches to 2 feet in diameter and approximately 6 inches thick. The bottom stone, called the nether stone, featured a convex surface with a central pivot. The upper rider stone had a concave underside and rotated on this pivot. A special projection on the lower stone's edge channeled the crushed grain outward as meal. You ever heard of that word meal? The grain, meal, corn meal. It means it's crushed up. Cereal or oatmeal. It means it's crushed up grain. It was crushed through. Back then, it was crushed through the mills, in the mills. Today, they even call where you store lots of grain. It's called a grain or food mill. All right. It says a special projection on the lower stone's edge channeled the crushed grain outward as meal, ensuring efficient collection of the precious food staple. So this is all how the mill actually works. Now you know the idea of what it is. It's a design that brought forth grain. Women's role in grinding. This is going to get a little more significant. The cultural aspects of this mill, what a mill is. Women's role. Early dawn, primary grinding time to prepare for the day, so they would get out there early right before the sun hits, just to start working. Cooperative labor, two women typically working together. Right, some scriptures should be popping in your head right now. Two women typically working together. It says melodic work, women often singing while grinding. Evening preparation, alternative grinding for the next day's need. Why do you need to notice? There's cultural significance in a mill. And here's this cultural background. So when you hear a mill, all types of ideas of cultural importance is supposed to pop into your mind. If it doesn't, that means you just didn't get that edification yet. But thankfully, the Lord gave us this time for edification. The bottom says, grinding was exclusively women's work in ancient Hebrew society. Laborious, but essential. Women typically worked in pairs, sitting on the ground with millstones between them. Both would grasp the handle, moving it in full circles to crush the grain. The grating sound of stones became a familiar household rhythm, often accompanied by the women's singing voices. So, man, you would wake up early in the morning in ancient Israel and find your mother and your sister grinding at the mill, singing. You might even, be up already, but you hear them in the distances, or you hear other neighbors in the distances grinding at their mill and the women singing. So that was a normal thing, operation for our families. This work usually occurred at early dawn or evening, preparing a meal for the coming day's bread, the staff of life for Hebrew families. And now the scriptures do say, right, which we know there's multiple meanings here, but all sorts of scriptures should pop into mind. For instance, where we're told, your daily bread. You have to make your daily bread and get your daily bread. So every day the meal will be grinded for the coming day's bread. It says the staff of life for Hebrew families. So a lot came around that bread, the bread of life. So bread has serious significance. Look how it was made by a woman waking up early and grinding the meal through the millstones, operating this device to carry out this meal from crushing the grain to carry out the meal, so that you can have your bread, which is a staple in all Hebrew families. And this is where terms like bread of life came from. There's cultural significance in this, and we have to be paired back to the dialogue and the structure in which we came from and we fell from as a nation. I mean, we fell from grace, brothers. We fell as a nation. We fell in the knowledge of what things meant to us, the meanings, what we were taught, all those lessons, all those staples amongst the Hebrew families. From the moment you were born, what you learned, how you conducted yourself, how you upheld yourself, all of these things was wiped away, slapped clean, cleared, and then you were told that you were nobody's here, right? Doesn't that say that in Hosea? So let's continue to learn more about this mill. Social status and mill work. Social status and mill work. Servants and slaves in wealthy household, grinding was assigned to the lowest servants or slaves, marking their subordinate position in the household art hierarchy. So it was a slave job. It was the lowest job you can take if you was in the house. And usually it was the women and children, as we just read, the females, all right? Or it was assigned to servants in wealthier households. But you needed to hear that mill grinding because you needed to get that bread in the morning. So every day, a mill grinding in the house, every day, slaves or women. It's a symbol of servitude. Being behind the mill represents a position of servitude, as in reference to Exodus 11 and 5. And I'm going to grab Exodus 11 and 5 and just read it to you. Exodus 11 and 5. It says, "And all the firstborn in the land of Egypt shall die, from the firstborn of Pharaoh that sitteth upon his throne, even unto the firstborn of the maidservant that is behind the mill, and all the firstborn of beasts." So it shows you that even from as high of symbol and status as Pharaoh's son to the firstborn of the maidservant, a slave, a servant who was behind the mill. All right. So behind the mill and the social status that came with mill work is that you were a servant. Okay. And do we not think of ourselves today as servants? We should. We honestly should, or else we think too highly of ourselves. So the symbol of the mill is a symbol of servitude. It's also a sign of dishonor. Forcing high status individuals to grind was a deliberate humiliation, as when the Philistines made Samson grind in the prison house. Let's go to that. Judges 16 and 21. Judges 16 and 21 says, "But the Philistines took him and put out his eyes and brought him down to Gaza and bound him with fetters of brass. He did grind in the prison house." Okay, so this was the judgment that the Philistines did to Samson. Okay, caused him to grind in the prison house. So it's a sign of dishonor as well, taking somebody from a high to a low stature, as well as being a pitcher of water. Pitchers, the people who go and just grab water from wells and come back. And this is where, we understand that this is our slavery and our servitude and our form of dishonor, because we do all the servitude work. We are the bus drivers. We're talking about Israel now. Let's fast forward it to today's time. We're the bus drivers of the day. We're the people who mow lawns of today. You Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. You take care of the dirty jobs or the jobs nobody else wants. As far as social status goes, we have the lowest form of servitude that you can find. All right. This is to show us that we are in subjection and being dishonored. The mill served as a powerful indicator of social status in Hebrew society. Grinding was typically performed by servants or slaves in wealthy households, marking their low position. So when you see somebody behind the mill, you enter into a home and you see somebody behind the mill or grinding at the mill, they had a certain status. And you didn't just go ahead and deal with everybody of particular statuses. You would deal with the status that you are on. That's the importance of status, right? But it was Yahweh Shah that first started to deal as with those of low statuses and high statuses. He was deal with whomever was willing to be obedient to the calling. It says Isaiah's prophecy dramatically highlights this connection when he foretells Babylon's fall, describing the virgin daughter of Babylon being forced to sit on the ground and take the millstones to grind meal. So now, this scripture that we hear all the time, right, concerning destruction of America, Babylon, Isaiah 47, verse 1 to 2. I'll read it again. "Come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon," which dust symbolizes confusion, of course. And the virgin daughter shows you that it's not the original woman, right? It is the daughter, and she's a virgin because America is untouched. So how is this a virgin daughter of Babylon refer to America? Again, she's a virgin because she's been untouched in the sense of she doesn't know any war. She hasn't been invaded, right? And she's also the daughter of Babylon because not quite Babylon, but takes on all the customs as the mother is, so is the daughter. So America is very much just like ancient in many ways, more ways than one, just like ancient Babylon, reincarnated or a virgin daughter of her. It says sit on the ground. There is no throne. So this sit on the ground, right, is obviously a sign of dishonor, and it's a symbol of servitude. It's also a symbol of being put down, destroyed. Sit on the ground where their dust is. It says, there is no throne or daughter of the Chaldeans, for thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate. Then it says, verse 2, take the millstones and grind meal. Grind meal. So we're going over the social status of mill work. When you are behind the mill, it represents that you are a slave. That's what they did to Samson when they took his eyes out and then put him in prison and made him grind meal. So America will be a meal grinder, meaning you will be in servitude now. You are now officially dishonored. It is the lowest rank in the house that you can get, the mill grinder. So again, take mill and take the millstones and grind mill, uncover the leg, make bare the leg, uncover the thigh, pass over the river. So as you can see, the grinding of the mill and the nakedness and exposing of this place, Babylon, is what dishonors it the most. When you want to dishonor a king, make him do slave servant work. When you want to dishonor a place like Babylon, or you want to use phrases, right, to symbolically help those understand how a Babylon's going to be brought low, you say that Babylon's going to be grinding meal. Oh yeah, you're going to be grinding meal soon. That's like telling the king, you're going to be tying my shoe real soon. So the reference to the mills is always reference to low status, dishonor, and servitude. It says the mill served as a powerful indicator of social status in Hebrew society, and that's where what we left off at, as far as not knowing what the mill actually symbolized. Because again, we have to learn this back again. We got to come back to the basics of who we are and what we forgot, what was beaten out of us, in particular, beaten out of us when we were forced into servitude, all right, through those cargo slave ships and through indoctrination. We don't even speak the Hebrew tongue, as a matter of fact, but we're Hebrew Israelites. So a lot was taken from us, and the Lord gave us a little bit of time left to be able to restore that back. Just enough for you to have enough faith to hold firm through these trials and tribulations, so you can receive that everlasting life and that salvation. So Babylon's fall, by describing the virgin daughter of Babylon being forced to sit on the ground and take millstone to grind meal, representing the ultimate humiliation for one previously exalted. See? Make bare the leg, grind meal. That's ultimate humiliation for somebody that had such a high status. And didn't we know anything about Esau as far as his pride go? He extolleth himself, right? He sitteth on the throne as if he was the most high. All right, he's exalted high above the like the eagle. Isn't that his national bird? Isn't that to show you the status of what they think they are? So they're exalted right now, but the Lord will humble them based upon the references that we have and applying now what we're learning about the millstones. Biblical references to mills, Exodus 11 and 5. References the maid servant that is behind the mill, indicating social position. So that's your class, right? What you do every day, your job title, is a direct indication of your social position in society. Okay, that's to this day, it goes the same way. It goes no different for Babylon, America. If you have doctor or MD in your last name, you are officially of a higher social position. Just like in ancient Israel, if you grinded mill, if you were standing but on the sitting on the floor or standing behind the mill, your position was low. It was just an indication. All right. Now, with the low position, doesn't mean that you can't believe, doesn't mean that you're not fitted for salvation. As absolutely not. Matter of fact, the triangle works in the way it does. There's less at the top and very much more at the bottom. The base is always larger than the top, right? You hear the words of people, famous people saying it's lonely at the top. So the majority is at the bottom. You just fall into the majority. So it's not about trying to reach the top. That's America's trick on you. It's about being patient, because the Lord's going to change your situation and put you on the top. He's going to take you from the dunghill and raise you up on top of the mountain peaks and the summits. He's going to form the government and then take down this nation so he can establish the next government. And the first shall be last and the last shall be first. Deuteronomy 24:6 forbids taking millstones as a pledge because they sustain life. So what you also learn about the law told you that you can't vow somebody, if somebody owes you money, for instance, and you went to go take something as collateral, you couldn't take the thing that sustained their life. All right, that would, like today, if somebody makes their money off of their cars, or somebody makes their money off of dogs, right? And they owe you money, you can't go ahead and take their dogs. How are they gonna pay you back? That's the simple idea of that. Deuteronomy 24:6. It says, "No man shall take the nether or the upper millstone to pledge." And what we learned about the millstone process through this, I'll go back. The structure and design of the ancient mills was that there's an upper stone and the handle, and there's a center pivot, and then there's a lower stone, which is called the nether. So you couldn't take not the nether nor the rider, the upper stone, or anything in between, if it was the means of that person being fed their daily bread, sustaining life. This is what allows them to eat. So they have to continue. You have to continue to allow somebody to keep grinding. NLT says it is wrong to take a set of millstones or even just the upper millstone as security for a loan, or the owner uses it to make a living. Isaiah 47:1-2, we just read it, uses grinding as a metaphor for Babylon's humiliation. And it's not Babylon, but it's the virgin daughter of Babylon, which is America. Now, Matthew 24:41 should have been the scripture that came to mind as well, where it tells you about two women grinding out the mill in apocalyptic context, right? Which, if you go into the Spanish word for revelation, it'll say apocalypto, right? So it's just end times, all right? Destruction of Babylon, America, end times, apocalyptic. All right, and we'll get into Matthew 24:41 in a second. Let me read this. Mills feature prominently throughout Scripture, revealing their central importance to Hebrew life. So there's a central importance around the mill. Everyone in Israel knew what a mill was, because that's how you got your food. Just like everybody know what a toaster is. Everybody know what a refrigerator is. If somebody say my refrigerator broke, you know the significance around that. Like, damn, what about the food? How y'all gonna eat? Where y'all gonna, like, you know how dire it is when somebody said their refrigerator broke, right? Or that's like saying my water got cut off, my electricity off. You know that just increases the um, emotion behind, you know what I mean, behind how dire their situation is. But that's like the mill. That's what the significance and the importance, the central importance of the mill is in Hebrew life. This is when we was in ancient Israel, what our customs in which we lost. It says in Ecclesiastes 12:4, the sound of the grinding represents normal daily life. Now, let's go to Ecclesiastes 12:4. Because when you start at 1, it tells you, remember now thy creator in the days of thy youth, while the evil days come not. So we're always, here's another apocalyptic reference to the judgment that's about to come, to the humiliation, right? The low status of what this society is going to come from, because it's extolled, it's high up now. America still has that effect on the world, but very soon it'll be brought low, right back down, humiliated to the ground of the lowest status symbol you can think of, which is a mill, right? But this is talking about how things are going to stop, right? Work is going to stop. Again, remember now the creator in the days of thy youth, while the evil days come not. So you're supposed to use this time wisely. You can go outside, you're still hearing people at work, people still got jobs, right? AI hasn't officially came and shut down your neighbor's job, or you're across the street, or so you still have pretty much normal everyday life going on. But it's because the evil days haven't come. This is the time to remember Yahweh Shem Shai, your power, the creator. It says, nor the years are now when thou shalt how thou shalt say, I had no pleasure in them. Or the sun or the moon or the light, or the light, or the moon, or the stars, be not darkened, nor the clouds return after the rain. And this is all references to the apocalyptic times to come, in which the knowledge, and all of this intelligence, and all of this light and this wisdom will be shut out. But there's also another, let's say, another interpretation, another meaning for that is this sun and the stars and all that will be blocked out by this cloud of mm, ash by way of that thermonuclear fire. So that's twofold there. That's the word I was thinking of, twofold. It says, in the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble. This is talking about the elites, scared, humiliated, worried about the coming judgment, the apocalyptic judgment straight from the scriptures. It says, and the strong men shall bow themselves. This is their armies, right? Military men bowing out, trying to get out of this. They want to fight. They yet there's fight. It says, and the grinders cease because they are few, and those that look out of the windows be darkened. And this is also twofold. Again, it's probably threefold because it's also dealing with the symbology of a man getting up in age and how he starts to everything stops working after a certain time. But it's symbolically dealing with this end time scenario that we are in. We're all in it, no matter where you come from or how far you've learned or how ready or prepared you are for the end times. We're all in this situation together. You, me, the non-believers, all right, Esau, all right, um, all of them. Everybody's in the same situation together, right? So the grinding, what's going to happen in this time we're living in? It says, "And the grinders cease, for they are few." So this is what this middle. This is that grinding sound. This is how um these jobs, unemployment high, grinders cease means less work, no work, cease. It says because they are few, and AI is a part of that. This technology advancing means that there's going to be less people being hired because you could swap out human labor with digital labor. It's easy. Anybody after a certain point of time in America, Babylon, if you have more physical workers than you do digital um, AI agent workers, then you're going to lose money and you're going to lose your business. There's going to be no more significance to have a physical person working very soon at that time. Heads up, the grinding is going to cease. It says, because they are few and those that look out of the windows be darkened. So let me see if it says anything different in the NL. Just keep going. It says, let me see if that was it on that. Right, we're gonna go down to verse 4 now. And the doors shall be shut in the streets. This is all the references to the end of society functioning. A normal operating society means people are at work doing what they're supposed to do, and their work defines their social status. They come home and do things that involved that their social people in their social status is involved with. If you have high society, you on trips, you on foreign yachts. That's your social status to kick your feet up and live life. If you have the lower status you are down the totem pole, the more like in grinding at the mill all day. You're just laboring, laboring, laboring to get your capital, to get your money to sustain life. No different than the time in the ancient world. All right. So the sound of the mill stopping, as we're reading again, Ecclesiastes 12:4, and the doors shall be shut in the streets when the sound of the grinding is low. When the sound of the grinding is low. And he shall rise up at the voice of the bird, and all the daughter of music shall be brought low. So these times we're in, man. We're about to see a great transition into the highest rates of unemployment imaginable. Okay. There's going to be few grinders left, few people with work left. This is where the UBI system comes in. This is where the CHIP, the mark, the MOTB comes into play, because you will need a government, the government to sustain your living, because there won't be any jobs. This is our lifetime. This is our reality. Welcome to the next stage of recognizing what the end times is all about. It's a lot of suffering. Many great miseries shall be done and to those in the last days. And think about the people with 501k, no, 501c3s. Think about the people with 401ks and how they just marked out this perfect plan, this American dream, and how it's about to just stop, because who the hell is going to be paying into Social Security when robots took over all the jobs? See how serious and dire this situation is? The grinding ceasing, any society where the grinding ceases, that is the end of that society. Okay, so it says similarly, Revelations 18-22 describes Babylon's fall by noting the sound of the millstone shall be heard no more. Let's get that reference. Come on, man. It's pretty evident and clear now that once the jobs are dried up, this society is dried up. But they're still going to be able to push out their agenda. The agenda is to mark everybody. And if you can't buy or sell without it, because the beast system has control over all of commerce, if you ain't gonna be able to buy or sell without it, no more trading with the foreign country with bartering. If you ain't gonna be able to buy or sell without this thing, well, that means what is the point of having a job? What would be the point of living in this society to earn a living if you didn't take the mark in order to be able to buy or sell with the money that you've made? So everything revolves around pushing you into taking this mark. You want to keep your work, take the mark. You want to retire early at 22 years old and travel and do stuff on our dime, take the mark. So every interest level is going to be craving the mark. Every society, every social class, right? Small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, they'll all be craving the mark. What's a rich person need a mark for? Because that's how they're going to be able to engage in buying and selling, because they got all this money. They got to transfer it over to the digital. What's a poor person going to want the mark for? Because he has no money. His AI took his job. All right. Revelations 18, verse 22. Start at 21. And a mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone and cast it into the sea, saying, thus with violence shall that great city Babylon be thrown down and shall be found no more at all. So the sea symbolizes these people in Babylon, all right? And the mighty stone, or the great millstone, symbolizes thermonuclear destruction, has thrown, boom, cast it down, and all these people in this great city is thrown down and destroyed, right? That's why with violence shall the great city Babylon be thrown down. With violence, the violence of intercontinental ballistic missiles being shot over here to America and detonating, causing this place to become a lake of fire. It says, verse 22, and the voice of harpers and musicians and pipers and trumpeters shall be heard no more at all in thee. So you hear silence, whereas you used to hear the hustle and bustle of the city. You used to hear the birds chirping in the morning. You used to hear your mom, dad pull up in the driveway, the dog barking, the roosters crowing. You don't hear none of that no more. It says, shall be heard no more at all in thee, and no craftsman of whatsoever craft he be shall be found any more in thee. And the sound of a millstone shall be heard no more at all in thee. So what's that symbolize to you? Symbolize that, boy, if you ain't know, now you know. Babylon will be shut down. Ain't gonna be no more work here. And that's gonna be before the destruction hits. People gonna be aimlessly walking around, possibly getting rounded up. New laws and legislation. You're gonna have to get an MOTB. You're gonna have to get marked up, chipped up, in order to become a citizen, in order to have your new ID, in order to have access to your 15-minute cities and access to buying and selling. You're gonna have to be a product of this government, which means you're gonna have to get marked up, and that's still not going to stop the destruction, the nukes from flying. Still gonna happen. Still gonna be humiliated. Still gonna be brought low. But the grind and ceasing is right in front of our faces with the advancement of technology. I mean, these chips are getting smart. All right. So it says these references demonstrate how deeply entwined, Slaki, how deeply intertwined the meal was with the Hebrew understanding of normal society. You get it now? From a young age to an old age, you always heard the mill. The mill grinding lets you know that you was awake. The mill grinding lets you know that you was still alive, that time still ticking. Another day is here. The grinding of the mill lets you know it was early. The singing that came along with the meal let you know that the women was up and they was working. That let you know you was gonna have your bread later on that day. Let you know you was gonna be able to eat. Let you know everything was going, copacetic, smooth. Everything is the way it's supposed to be. Status quo. Every day you hear that grinding, and you know another day in Israel, another day, another normal day in Israel, another day. You look at the calendar. The weeks went by, months went by. You wake up again. The grinding of the mill. This is the pattern of the life that you was used to. This is embedded in you. Matter of fact, if you heard a grinding of a mill, you might sleep better at night because it might reference how you in the ancient world used to wake up to that sound every day. If you put the mill on in the morning, you might actually be on to something now. Tap into that, creativity. But that's what it meant to us. It was intertwined with the understanding of normal society and the grinding ceasing. But one day you woke up and that you ain't hear that grinding, and your whole body stood stiffly in that bed for a second. And the possibilities of something going wrong just enters in your mind. And your heart start pounding a little stronger. You might start getting like, your hands get all clammy, your throat start getting a little dry and parched. But you still laying there in bed trying to figure out where the grinding's at. Yeah, it's gonna come a day. Yeah, here in Babylon, America, you're gonna wake up and you're gonna not have not only you not gonna have a job, but all these people ain't gonna have no job. They're gonna be looking at each other for answers. And only the Hebrew Israelites gonna have the answers because the scriptures tell you the rest of them is gonna be running to and fro, seeking answers and not be able to find them. Okay. The end of normal society is at hand. The mill as a life sustainer. Let's look at this depiction here. The mill as a life sustainer. Daily sustenance produced the essential meal for bread making. That's why you needed to hear the mill grinding, because it lets you know you could another day to eat. There's nothing else you're gonna eat today. Bread, family nourishment, fed entire households providing basic nutrition. Man, that bread, I believe is the Hebrew word lacham, I believe. Um, what's the word? House of bread. If anybody know that, put that in the chat. House of bread in the Hebrew. I forget how I go. I think it's off the top. I forget how I go. Bear with me 1 second. I actually try to look that up. If anybody know house of bread or the Hebrew word for bread, I believe it's lacham. Okay. But let's keep going. So it's family nourishment, fed entire households, basic nutrition. Again, you woke up looking forward to that grinding of that meal. That lets you know everybody gonna eat today. Simple as that. Spiritual significance symbolize Yahweh's provision for his people. As long as that meal grinding, you know that the Lord is allowing us to be sustained again, man. We sustained again. We get to eat bread again. And that's how we are in this truth, man. When we see the apostles go out there again, when we see the brothers go out there, all the elders, all the camps, and you out there feeding your people with bread, we out there feeding the elect, sustaining us, making these digital epistles so we could eat, so the house, so the body could be nourished and have this basic nutrition. That's the Lord doing that. He allows this provision. He is the provider of all bread that we need to sustain us, right? Man shall not live by bread alone, right? But every word that proceeded out of the scriptures, basically, we live and eating every day off of these scriptures, man. All right, legal protection. Millstones legally protected from being taken as pledges. Again, we read that the law stated that you can't take another man's millstone if he owes you money. So That's even there's protection legally, right? Just in case somebody thought they was slick, they're gonna break you down because you owe them some money. And I'm gonna break. I'm gonna do him dirty. In American Babylon, you can hit him where it hurt, do him dirty, take him out, and he can't even eat no more. Not in the ancient world, the Lord ain't play that game. I don't care how much he owed you. So there's legal protection behind that. It says the millstone's vital importance is powerfully illustrated in the Mosaic law's specific protection. No man shall take the nether or the upper millstone to pledge, for he that taketh a man's life to he taketh a man's life to pledge. Deuteronomy 24:6. We read that earlier. The extraordinary level protection, legal protection, demonstrates how the mill was considered absolutely essential for survival. Without the millstones, families can prepare their daily bread. This protection acknowledges the mill's irreplaceable role in sustaining life itself. It's an irreplaceable role, man. So once this mill stops, this irreplaceable role in sustaining life stops, you're gonna have to get your life sustenance or your sustenance from somewhere else. You used to be able to rely on jobs being available, but very soon jobs ain't going. They're gonna take the mill. That's what this new AI and this technology is gonna do. It's gonna allow these companies to say, "The hell with y'all. We just gonna get AI to do it." So then UBI is set up. They're waiting. They're actively talking about it. This is the everyday conversation amongst panels involved with this transition from human labor to the end of human labor and the beginning of robotic labor. This is the conversation. How are all these people going to find purpose? How are they going to find provision? How are they going to make money for their families? Who are they going to make money from? What system is going to be provided for these people? And the average idea or the most number one thing they say is UBI, universal basic income, or some other form of that, right? Somebody say UBAI, artificial intelligent form of banking. But either way, your provision will stop. And that is such an important role. Your job, your livelihood, yes, the need to make money is such an important role that when you take it away from a man, you essentially kill him. You kill him. You die without your daily bread. You die without your money, right? So the Lord is going to provide for his people, his elect, but the rest, they're going to be out there for the elements. And the animals got to eat too. You got to keep that in mind, all right? Prophetic symbols of mills, routine activity represents normal life before divine intervention, right? Routine activity. Because if you didn't have your mill, you would need some divine intervention. What we do know is the mill is a divine intervention because we're here as subjugated slaves, and we always have to ask for divine intervention. Because at some point in time, Esau had the right to just look at us. If we looked at him, he could kill us. If we were reading, he can kill us, especially the Bible. Chop your hands off, do whatever you want. You need to understand the heinousness of this man who ruled over us. He do not care. He will go back to that man eventually. But the mill symbolized that when it stops, you need divine intervention. Okay? Normal life before divine intervention. It's a divine collection. One shall be taken, one shall be left. Showing judgment. Why was one woman taken and one left? Where were they at? They were at the mill. What were they doing? They were grinding. Did that show you? Normal life. So normal life is usually followed by divine intervention. Divine intervention comes up into a point in which normal life can be brought back. So the apocalyptic scenario, the end times, is that we will have the ceasing of the mill, right? Normal life ceases. And then divine intervention picks up when normal life ceases. And then from divine intervention, we go into normal life once the kingdom of heaven is established. So again, divine selection. It says status revealed, broad symbols of the mill. It says powerful, brought low through grinding motif, right? When a person is made to grind, that means they're brought low, just like how they did Samson. Took his eyes out and made him grind mill in prison. End times mark. The absence of grinding sounds signifies judgment. The absence of grinding sounds signifies judgment. So if you want to know if you in the end times, keep your eye on the unemployment rate, not the BS, whatever they putting out, just because it's from the government. You want the actual, real unemployment rate, and look at the rate for your people, which are their people. So it tells you that judgment is here. When you have a high unemployment rate. Matthew 24:41, Luke 17:35, both reference two women grinding at the mill in profound prophetic context. These passages reveal the mill's significance in apocalyptic teachings, where extraordinary activity suddenly becomes settings for divine intervention. The mill becomes a backdrop for unexplained separation. One shall be taken and the other left. This imagery highlights how the most mundane activities will continue right until judgment arrives, with people engaging in their normal routines unaware of impending division. Okay? Let's read that real quick. Matthew. Let's read that. I got it pulled up. I did have it pulled up. Matthew 24. We'll start at Matthew 24. I'll start at 36. But of the day and hour knoweth no man, not the angels in heaven, but my Father only. But as the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man. So two things. Nobody knows when this will happen except the Father. And this time is going to be just like Noah's time. It says, for as in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage until the day of Noah entered into the ark. So that eating, drinking, marrying, giving in marriage is symbolic of everyday life, all the operations going on. So some would say, well, see, everybody's still going to be working because they're going to be eating, drinking, and married. UBI, my brother, UBI, my wife, UBI. All right, a system in which society is the divine intervention comes in the form of a serpent or a beast system trying to mark you. Yeah, you'll be provided for so that you can continue to get married, eat, drink, and live life. But your provisions will come from the beast if you choose to get that mark. If you choose that way. All right, for the elect, our provisions will come from Yahweh Shah. All right, and that marrying and giving in marriage, the word is dealing with meat, two people coming together. So, as the elder Rum always points out, that's even this these days because you got these apps that bring people together. All kinds of apps, meet apps, dating apps. It's a digital dating app world right now. Okay, we call it hookup culture. So that meeting is still happening. All right, for somebody to marry to actually come together and meet. It says, and knew not until the flood came and took them away, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. So it's a time in which when the judgment arrives, a lot of people will be unaware because they'll be just going about their daily life. Then it says, then shall two be in the field, and one shall be taken and the other left. Two women shall be grinding at the mill, and one shall be taken and the other left. Two women grinding at the mill. Symbolic of, in these days, you don't got women grinding at the mill. The mill don't even exist in the sense that it used to. All right, but it's just ancient world speak for every people will be going about their daily lives, daily routines, handling business, taking care of their families, taking care of the situation, the wife, and everything like that. But here comes judgment in Yahweh to break that up, in which some who believe will be taken up into a ship and beamed up and taken out, and preserved and saved. But the others will be standing there and left at the mill so that they can receive of that destruction that comes. Try to wrap it up. Hidden knowledge in everyday objects. Hidden knowledge in everyday objects. Surface understanding, recognizing the physical attributes and practical function of ancient tools used by the Hebrew Israelites in their daily lives. For instance, the mill. There's other things as well. You can look into the trumpet. All right, you can do the same type of study and gather information on the trumpet. As a matter of fact, the book you'll do that in The book is called Manners and Customs that are shared amongst brothers. If you don't have it, just try to find a way to reach out to, GMS Birmingham. We'll get you a copy of that. Or even GMS main camp in New York City. We got this book called Manners and Customs of the Bible by James N. Freeman. Or you can be savvy enough to find the PDF file and download it yourself. Very good for cultural significance in Hebrew lives. It says cultural context, discovering how objects like the mill shape the social structures, gender roles, and family dynamics within Hebrew society. Spiritual insight, revealing the deeper symbolic meanings encoded in everyday basic objects, unlocking hidden wisdom in scriptural references and teaching. This is what we do. This is what the Lord allows brothers to continue to do. These shows are always edifying that the brothers do. They post from the short ones, straight to the point ones, to the more defined, going through the context of how it used to be and why it has meaning, why they used words like mill. Why was a mill even thought about? Why was it even? Because it was everything consistent in daily life, normalcy. It says the humble mill teaches us that profound wisdom often hides in plain sight within ordinary objects of daily life. By understanding the mill's construction, use, and cultural significance, we gain access to the layers of meaning embedded throughout Scripture. This pattern extends beyond the mill to other objects mentioned in ancient texts. True wisdom requires looking beyond the surface to discover how material culture illuminates spiritual truths. The Hebrew approach to knowledge integrates practical life with deeper symbolic understanding, revealing that the mundane often contains the most sacred teachings. Yeah, a mundane. Everybody couldn't overlook that a meal had any significance, but it do, right? And how rightfully, appropriately so are we named GMS Gray Millstone. So with that, I want to give all glory, honor, and praises to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shah Bahashem Rakah HaKodash. Double honors to our apostles, elders, and bishops of Great Millstone who rule well over the flock of Israel. And shalom and salutation to Akim pushing words of truth and sincerity. Shalom. I brought the top videos at a fine. Until next time. Lord willing. Shalom.